Kamusta? Welcome to Toy Box. We're a group of occupational therapists who challenge fellow play and leisure enthusiasts to create and play with toys in ways that push creativity. Bukod sa mga nakakaaliw na toys, magkakaroon din tayo ng discussion and konting kwentuhan. For this episode, ang bida natin ay cardboard boxes. It's another common household item na napakaraming possibilities. Let's look at all the ways in which our challengers turn the humble cardboard box into something anyone and everyone can enjoy. Ready na kayo, guys? So our first toy is from Basil Cagayan, PTRP. It's a boat. How do you think pwede nating laruin tong toy na to?
Feeling ko since it's small din, okay din na for younger kids siya. So talagang it will help them in terms of yung make-believe concept natin ng play. So, sasay sila doon, tapos panggap-panggap sila kung nag-row sila.
Parang sakto lang yung size talaga for the toddler. Parang pwede siyang sakyan. May iba pa ba kayong ideas kung paano mo pwede ibahin yung toy na to?
Pwede natin siguro lagyan ng tali dun sa isang end. Alam niyo parang hinihila siya. The kid can put his toys dun sa loob, tapos magpe-pretend siya na nag-roam around. So, meron ka na dun ng mga gross motor skills. Aside from that, I think it's also a good opportunity for bonding time. So, to establish relationship between the parent and the kid. Yung kid yung sasakay sa loob, tapos yung parent yung magpupush, magpupul.
Ano ba yung mga social skills na pwedeng ma-develop dito dun sa nabanggit mo na parent and child yung magpe-play?
Kasi nagpa-provide nga siya ng opportunity for bonding time. Ibig sabihin, nagkakaroon na ng other people present in their play. Kung ang unang game na gagawin nila is yung what we talked about earlier, na sasakay lang siya, tapos mag-row kunwari, that's just solitary play, mag-isa lang. Kapag sinamahan mo na ng other people, pwede tayong mag-progress. Baka hanggang cooperative kaya eh. Cooperative, sabay siguro dalawang kids naghihila ng madaming toys, nakapatong dun sa boat.
Pwede nga siyang parang unahan kayo mag-pull ng boat, so parang merong competitive din.
Pwede nga rin isa kayong kapatid eh. Yung kung yung mas maliit, pwedeng siya mismo yung hilahin ng isa. So that's development for both of them. Strength ng other kid, control ng other kid, tapos yung isa, mas balance dun sa loob.
Maraming na-challenge na parang gross motor skills. So ano pa ba yung ibang mga gross motor skills na pwedeng ma-develop nila playing with this toy?
Kung sila yung nakasakay sa boat, they have to maintain their balance. Yung balance, so in order to maintain that, they need good postural control or good posture. So yung trunk control nila and yung head control, so the ability to maintain their trunk and head upright habang nakasakay sila sa boat. Dapat din meron silang tinatawag nating protective and equilibrium reactions. So halimbawa, nag-shift forward yung boat, so napatalikod yung bata. So what they need to do is shift their trunk forward in order to maintain their balance. Important din to as like foundation for yung future more complex motor skills.
Yung dinemo mo na gumaganon yung trunk, naalala ko is LRT or MRT eh. Di ba? Pag nagtutulakan, dapat pag natulak ka, marunong kang mag-backward or mag-forward para di ka malaglag kasi delikado. May gusto pa ba kayong i-add para sa toy na to?
We talked a little bit about make-believe play. So, pwede rin gawin yung fire truck. Panggap sila, may role-playing na na-involved, or ambulance, gano'n.
Pwede nga siya. Tapos yung toys mo yung related din, no? Cooking. So, kung gusto niya na parang food truck yun, pwedeng related din yung toys. So, thank
Medyo
you for
dramatic
that.
na yung play, pag gano'n.
Sabi, may Ate Akins, di ba yung ambulance, gano'n? Pwede na magtuloy ng social stories din. Or pagpasok ka ng mga fables or whatever. Parang naganda siyang tool or prop. Kasi ang laki niya and customizable siya.
Noah's Ark, ganun.
Uy!
Actually, lalagay mo yung
Mga animals, yeah.
For some people kasi spiritual context is also very important. So, may mga parents na pinaprioritize nila yung spiritual learning sa kids nila. And yun, pwede na lang ituro din yun. Gospels and like Bible stories. Which there are a lot of fun Bible stories na pwede na lang i-inject dun.
So, thank you for all your input. Parang ang ganda talagang gawin nun. I'd like to try doing that siguro sa mga pamangkin ko din. So, our next toy is a dollhouse submitted by Elma Latayan, CSP, PASP.
Taga City lang.
Tao pa.
Parang gamit na gamit talaga yung box kasi lahat ng parts niya na-maximize niya, yung flap.
Ano ba ang mga pwede nating matutunan in playing a dollhouse?
There's a lot of social things that we can learn when playing a dollhouse. Yung sa social levels of play as well. So, a dollhouse can be played ng mag-isa, so solitary, and then also can move until cooperative siguro, like you're playing together, tapos you're using one dollhouse, may family or may friends living together in one space. And with that, there could be social routines natin, like saying good morning to each other, saying thank you, saying sorry.
Nabanggit mo
Yeah.
parang magsasabi ka ng good morning, so parang pwede ka rin mag-insert ng mga new vocabulary, so yung hindi pa familiar na objects. May other applications pa ba tong part na to ng dollhouse?
Yung pag-introduce mo rin ng mga items, concept formation na rin yun for the kid. Not just that, yung basic activities din. Like, bathroom, that's where you take a bath. Kitchen, tulad ng dollhouse na to, that's where we cook. So, not just items, but also the things associated with the items.
Kasi nga parang yung dollhouse, ang dali mo malaman yung parts of the house kasi kita mo, parang miniature version. Tapos masasaulo mo din, ay, dito pala nakalagay yung bed ko sa ganitong part ng house. Parang very good way din talaga siya to learn yung mga skills din. So, ayun, yung spoon and fork na nasa right or nasa left ba yung spoon and fork. So, parang very good din siya sa actual na nagawain ng bata. May other skills pa ba kayo naiisip na pwedeng ma-develop gamit yung dollhouse?
For cognitive skills naman, madami din tayo natatarget dyan. Like, for example, yung sa organizing, paano niya aayusin yung mga insides, yung mga furniture. Good way na din siya to teach maybe yung routine sa bata. Like, di ba,
Yeah.
from waking up, tapos ano yung una mong gagawin until sa pagtulog. And may component din of fine motor skills like in dexterity when you manipulate the small tools like the spoon and fork. And if you're planning to do it yourself, yung mga cutting.
May iba pa ba kayo naiisip na upgrade naman to make it more challenging?
Pwede rin, they can add more rooms. So because there's more rooms, mas maraming kailangan alalahanin yung bata. Like, what do you call this room? What are you supposed to do here? Ano yung mga gamit na nandito? So inside those rooms, you can introduce new accessories or new items to them.
We can also introduce new things in forms of abstract concepts, which is familial roles at saka roles like in IABLs, especially in home management. Ipasok natin siya sa social learning. So, you as a member of this household, ano yung role mo? Kasi occupations are also our roles or things that we need to fulfill in whatever context we're in.
Very good din siya in learning kung ano yung interaction. So, interaction mo with kuya, ate, or respecting si lola. So, pwedeng i-role play talaga dun sa loob ng dollhouse. Nung bata ko, wala akong dollhouse, pero gusto ko ng dollhouse. Kayo ba? May dollhouse kayo nung kids? Kayo?
Mostly girls kami sa bahay. We had yung Barbie dream house.
Wow!
Isa lang yung meron kami. So, like what we discussed earlier, ayun, multiple people can play with the dollhouse at one time.
Sa amin naman, ako lang yung may dollhouse kasi ako lang yung girl. Tapos
I see a
may two
pattern.
younger brothers ako. So while I play yung dollhouse ko, mostly yung toys nila is mga cars, yung mga tools.
Same thing din yun na nakikita ko kasi I have a niece and a nephew. Pero every now and then, actually, pinagpiplay ko sila together. Minsan magpuput up ako ng order, tapos silang dalawa yung gagawa. So, they're mixing their toys din na gagamit din siya ng oven ng girl. Tapos, si ate naman, gamit din siya ng Play-Doh ni kuya. So, nag-share sila ng toys nila. Kayo ba? Anong insight niyo sa ganong play?
Ako personally, hindi ko siya masyadong na-experience. Kasi my family really let me play whatever I wanted to play with. I had lots of car toys. I played basketball. Tapos, I also had doll houses. I had Bratz dolls. I got both ends. I mean, like, usually, toys are grouped into two things. When you enter mga toy stores, laging, there's a pink corner, there's a blue corner. And most of the time, like what you mentioned, very cosmetic or homemaking yung nasa female side. And then
Yes.
dun sa male side, nandun yung construction toys, build toys, and everything. When I grew up, a lot of kids were really confused because I can do what the boys did, but I'm a girl. So I got really stereotyped into being not feminine, which made me have this difficulty developing my sense of identity. Okay, so where do I belong? Am I on the other end, the blue side of the toy store, or am I in the pink side of the toy store? When in reality, I was just myself kasi I had these opportunities growing up. With what you're doing with your niece and your nephew, I feel like they will be more comfortable assuming roles, like not just in the household but like in society in general, that are traditionally prescribed by any gender roles. So, which is good kasi one thing, it hinders development. our sense of identity, which we eventually will need. Very heightened sa time na teenagers tayo. Nahanap natin yung sense of who are we, where are we good at, which eventually can either lead us to being full-grown, developed, mature adults to immature or lost adults. It starts there as a child. Parang dun pa lang makikita mo na with the opportunities given to you. For example, si Kyla, you were presented with toys na very yung sa cooking, ganun-ganun. And then
Yeah,
your
geared towards nurturing. Since nung bata ako, hindi ako na-introduce sa mga tools, yung mga hands-on, difficult, heavy work. Parang ngayon as an adult, parang hindi ko siya instinct na gawin. For example, may sira sa kitchen, yung sink mo, ganyan. Parang hindi ko instinct na, oh, I can fix this. Laging tatawagin ko yung dad ko or yung lolo ko. And growing up, parang na-realize ko, it's difficult kasi it's a life skill eh. And life skills, it should be present with anyone regardless of gender.
Sabi ni Kyla na siya mas nurturing na toys. Pero kung mas ginugroup mo yung mga ganong types of activities and toys towards girls, you're limiting din yung roles and yung skills na kaya nila or dapat nilang gawin. So, kunyari sa bahay, sa chores, yung paghuhugas ng pinggan, that's not something na solely for girls lang. That's an important life skill that you would use. Especially when you're living alone, when you're in a dorm. If you want your kids to be well-rounded individuals, you offer them a variety of toys without the stereotype.
I think we should try na i-expose yung kids natin sa lahat ng toys na gusto nilang i-play. Kasi ang goal talaga natin is for children to learn by playing. Kada toy, may iba siyang tinuturo for the kids. So kung mas marami siyang i-explore, mas marami siyang matututunan, mas marami siyang mabibuild up na skills. It's really good na mabalance out para maging good yung skill set mo as an adult. May any additions pa ba kayo?
Siguro word to our viewers na lang din, especially to people who work closely with children. This concept that we're talking about gendering play and how it affects development. We're not imposing that you do this, but we really are highly encouraging it. I know that there are a lot of people with different set of beliefs. For some of them, kailangan talaga naka-gender yan. Magiging call mo talaga yan. But as occupational therapists, we want to tell you guys that as long as play is safe, it's always going to be limitless.
That's a very nice thing. So, our last toy for this part 1 is Modified Foosball submitted by Mariel Fuentespina. Parang first off, yung foosball na regular, you turn the knobs. Parang ito, pa-forward yung galaw. So, ano yung implications nun?
Yung planning mo, strategizing mo is going to be completely different. Kasi isa na lang yung lulusutan eh. Yung dun kasi, madami kang chances kapag lumampas dun sa isang row, pwede mo pang i-block dun sa other row. Now, this time, hindi. Isa lang kasi talaga yung entryway. Iba din yung pag-shift mo. So, kuwari may na-face ka na problem na, okay, dito niya lagi pinapapunta yung crumpled paper. So, what do I have to do to correct myself? Saang area naman ako pupunta?
Yeah. May iba pa ba kayong na-notice na skills na pwedeng mag-iba or ng demands dito?
Pwede rin yung visual skills, specifically yung tracking, which is our ability to follow moving objects. While playing the game, you need to watch where the ball of the opponent is going, where you're going to push the pole towards para ma-shoot mo sa goal ng opponent mo. When you see na where the ball and the poles are going, syempre, you'll be able to know where to move your arms and your hands. We call that skill our eye-hand and arm-hand coordination. So being able to coordinate what we see with the movements of our arm and our hand.
And also, since two-player game siya, no? And it's a competitive type of play, nandyan din yung work behavior na frustration tolerance. Since it's a competitive game, for sure meron diyang winner and loser. So, pag natalo ka ba, kaya mo bang i-control, i-regulate yung emotions mo para makabawi ka sa next round?
In terms of frustration tolerance, meron tayong response natin sa frustration na tinatapatan ng emotional regulation or yung pag-control natin sa how we're going to respond to emotional situations. Kasali din to sa mga na-mention ko kanina na executive functions natin na are greatly developed sa age na to. So these skills, we also need it in life. Pagpa-plan natin on how to go on about our day, strategize how to go on about our day, how we're going to control our emotions.
Important talaga yung skills na yun at this age group kasi ito rin yung start ng age group na responsibilities mas dumadami, expectations dumadami, tas hormonal ka pa. So very important talaga na ma-regulate mo yung sarili mo, makapag-look
after ka sa sarili mo at this age kasi transitioning ka na nga to adult. Tapos nabanggit din natin several times yung competitive or yung winning and losing. Na-realize ko lang, di ko pala alam paano mananalo dito sa coding ng foosball na to kasi parang back and forth lang yung ball.
I think, padamihan ng ball na mapakross sa other side. Pero, I think it would be better if may colored tape or marker na kapag nag-cross na yung ball doon, hindi mo na siya pwedeng i-attempt na pabalikin.
Or pwede rin siguro meron tayong time limit na
Yep.
within 5 minutes, sino yung may pinakamarami on their side. Iba pa ba kayo naisip na upgrades or tweaks?
We can increase the number of balls, tapos yun din number of holes. And yung number din ng sticks na pwede mong gamitin para mas challenging siya, mas in-demand yung coordination.
How about naman to decrease yung demands natin? Anong pwede natin gawin?
Yun din. Opposite lang naman siya.
Naisip ko lang din, for me, it resembles more of the air hockey than it does a foosball machine. Pwede rin siguro instead of using like a stick, medyo mas downgraded tayo. We can use like parang a cup siguro. We can use that to push papunta sa other side. Tapos we can backtrack dun sa isa nating episode. You remember yung plastic bottle natin na ginawa nating stress ball?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we can make a smaller version and make it into a ball.
Actually, kung parang air hockey yung gusto natin na gawing gameplay, pwede nga kahit yung takip lang ng bote. Kasi flat na siya, pwede na siyang pop.
Yeah.
Karayada modification. Since very heavy on eye-hand coordination tong game na to. Kahit wala ka ng mismong tool, pwedeng pitik ka na lang. Kasi
Pwede.
best na rin yun.
You know what? Just put a tape in the middle of your table and magpitik lang kayo ng paper. You're really looking for something to do and you don't wanna go through the hassle of making yung ating mismong toy, that's already a play suggestion. I suggest you go for it.
Maganda nga yun na suggest nyo as downgrade dun sa mismong activity, not on the skills. Kasi, syempre, less items yung kailangan mo. Tapos, syempre, kung less items tas yung gagawin, mas decrease din yung hazards. Kung gagayahin natin exactly yung ginawa niya, pwedeng putulin natin yung ends ng barbecue stick or maglagay tayo ng something sa dulo para mas safe siyang laruin. Thank you ulit kay Basil, kay Elma, and kay Mariel for submitting their videos.
If you liked our content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
If you have any comments or suggestions, comment down below or you could send us an email.
Yes, and don't forget to tag us in Facebook and Instagram and use the hashtag ToyBoxPH.
Maraming salamat po for watching our videos. Stay tuned for more content. Bye!
Bye!